a circle and a spiral, like a wheel within a wheel, never ending or beginning on an ever-spinning reel.
Coronavirus is raging in many states, but here in California, vaccinations are available to almost everyone, and the tide seems to be turning, and things seem to finally really be opening up just before the heat wave of summer hits us. So, with all the fun in the sun and the Oscars coming at the end of the month, there is still a hefty dose of TV worth staying in for. The CW kicked off its Berlanti Productions reimagining of Kung Fu, fronted by Olivia Liang. Today sees the launch of Them, the anthology series created by Little Marvin and executive produced by Lena Waithe. Sunday brings us the Joss Whedon-created and Victorian England set The Nevers on HBO, and the same day sees the end of Shameless, after 11 seasons on Showtime. So, with such a variety of contenders, which one will be the show that you have to watch this week?
This home is ours.
This is how it begins, with one family. They came from someplace worse. We'll have to make this place worse.
The horrors of American racism is a ditch which one can sadly always find new bones and new tales to tell. And that's what Them digs deep for. Debuting today on Amazon Prime Video, the 10-episode first season of the already renewed anthology series centers on Compton, 1953, as the first African-American family moves into the neighborhood and encounters the terrors of the bigoted white residents, trying to destroy them, with the mystical all wrapped in with some all-American hate. Set in the then City of Angels suburb of the Eisenhower era and 2 years before Rosa Parks bravely refused to give up that seat, the Deborah Arende and Ashley Thomas-led dread-drenched Them should scare you in where we came from and who we are. However, while it is the pervasiveness and insidious nature of racism that fuels much of hate's reach, violence, and continued marginalization, the potentially powerful Them is afflicted by its length and its sprawling narrative, which over 10 episodes has the unintended consequence of both stupefying and confusing you.
3 years ago, everyone at the Touched woke up with a power.
The Touched are rewriting the rules of reality. I want them under control. Even if it requires a bloodletting.
I will cut your face to a mess.
Created by the now dispatched and controversy-ridden Joss Whedon, the only thing missing from the Buffy the Vampire Slayer vet's well-worn bag of tricks in HBO's 19th century London set The Nevers is a cameo by Sir Patrick Stewart as an implied ancestor of the X-Men's Professor X. Because in this 1899 world where the Touched, as the predominantly superpowered women are unfortunately termed, the Marvel Mutant Team is clearly the inspiration for this ragtag band of orphans overseen against exploitation, extortion, and more by a pretty great Laura Donnelly and Dollhouse alum Olivia Williams. Still, with all the skin, bare and what have you, and the big budget you'd expect from the home of Game of Thrones, the anchor on The Nevers is that it never seems to take off, at least from the episodes I've seen. And even though in future episodes things may revive themselves now the behind-the-scenes drama seems to have calmed down, for now, The Nevers never will do.
You have to maintain a negative curb appeal.
Anything to help our family.
All we gotta do is make the yards dangerous again. Oh, those gentrifiers to be in the first Uber back to Bucktown.
As the saying goes, all good things must come to an end. And that is the case this weekend for Showtime's Shameless. After 11 often booze and drug-fueled seasons, the William H. Macy, Jeremy Allen White, and the rest of the cast who brought us the deep down and dirty Gallaghers of Chicago are exiting the small screen. With a post-finale online reunion of the cast and showrunner John Wells too, the swan song of the Emmy winner still certainly has some surprises up its stained, tattered, and still glorious sleeve. So in that context, and raising a glass or two to Shameless and the Gallagher gang, the show that you have to watch is the CW's Kung Fu.
To truly master Kung Fu, you must find peace. Peace with your family.
Peace and my family don't really go together.
Now, the CW has a cottage industry of late of recycling old titles in reimagined Technicolor dreamcoats of sorts. In January, the channel debuted Walker, which shares little with the Chuck Norris starring Walker, Texas Ranger, except the name and some headgear. Earlier this week, Kung Fu premiered on the CW to strong ratings, again sharing the name of the early 70s David Carradine martial arts series, but not much else besides some moves and a vague sense of wanderlust. Let's be honest, with its tale of a returned and transformed offspring, crime lord takedowns, family and romantic conflicts, the Christine M. Kim created Kung Fu is much more reminiscent of the now shuttered Arrow than its namesake. And as a fan of that other Trojan horse produced by Greg Berlanti, I'm okay with that, on more levels than one. Still, with all the triad tropes and some of the cliches you'd expect, what makes this Kung Fu so worth checking out, if you haven't already, is 1. Its lead, Olivia Liang, who bristles on screen as a woman seeking her own personal and cultural definition. 2. Its poignancy in a time of tragic assaults and attacks on Asian Americans due to the pandemic and more. To have literally and figuratively strong representation. Sadly, it's one of a few in a medium that has long undervalued Asian talent and Asian stories. And 3, as is often the undercurrent on the best of the CW shows, it's actually a quite engrossing family saga. Longest review short, come for the action of Kung Fu, but stay for the emotional squabbles and family acceptance, because you need to catch up on the first episode of Kung Fu Online this weekend, and then tune in for more episodes of the series on Wednesdays on the CW, because Kung Fu is the show that you have to watch.